There's a 2008 British indie drama called Slumdog Millionaire, and it's essentially the story of. And look, spoiler alert, I get it. The biggest spoiler alert is don't watch it. It's a terrible movie. But one of the biggest takeaways from the movie is a poor kid goes on the Indian version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, ends up knowing all the answers to the questions. The host doesn't trust him. He thinks he's cheating, which I guess the message of I guess the point of the movie is poor people don't be smart. And I guess the message is for the movie, poor people be smart. I bring this up because I want to illustrate last night's Game 5 victory of the Blue Jays over the Dodgers. Trey Savage, who you've probably never heard of, made his major league debut for the Toronto Blue Jays in September 2025. Let me repeat that. Trey Savage made his major league debut in September of 2025 with a total of, drumroll please, that's too long, 3 starts. He made 3 starts in the major leagues. And last night, in perhaps the biggest game of his young professional career, absolutely shut down the Dodgers offense. When I say shut down, I mean 7 innings of 1-run ball, 12 strikeouts. And that 1 run was a meatball he hung to Kike Hernandez in the 2nd or 3rd inning. This is a kid who is ready for the moment, and he rose to it. But I'm not bringing Slumdog Millionaire up and Trey Savage just to bring up those 2 things. I'm bringing it up for the sake of this entire World Series. I said before the series started that this was the first World Series in recent memory since 2016. I wonder what happened then. That I was so excited about because I knew that these were the 2 teams that were most deserving of being in the World Series. Now, you can point to the Dodgers losing 1 game in the playoffs up to the World Series, sweeping both the Reds and the Brewers, losing 1 game to the Phils. And then the Blue Jays, who fought long and hard to get to this World Series, especially the ALDS against the Mariners, or the ALCS against the Mariners, rather. This was, it has been, a World Series for the ages. And not just because of that 18-inning epic Game 3 on Monday night, which was absolutely incredible. But this was about a World Series that has been about so much more than that. Vladito has had a World Series for the ages. This dude is hitting near 500 with almost double-digit jacks with an OPS north of 1,000 in this postseason alone. He has played out of his mind in this postseason. And you've had Bo Bichette, who has played hero for the Blue Jays ever since George Springer went out in Game 3 of this World Series, being able to step in as a DH and produce where George Springer cannot produce, although not in the 1 hole. And then you have the Dodgers. Absolute starting dominance in the postseason up until this point. You have Yamamoto, who was going to come in and pitch in the 19th inning if needed, if not for Freddie Freeman replicating his Kirk Gibson gimmick and walking off the Dodgers to give them a 2-1 lead in the series. This World Series will go down as one of the best World Series in recent memory, regardless if it ends tomorrow or Sunday in Toronto. It doesn't matter. And by the way, I picked the Blue Jays rather to win in 7 because I figured Yamamoto was going to pitch Game 6 and he's going to have a dominant performance. We'll see about that tomorrow. But until then, relish this World Series. Relish it for the fact that it is an actual World Series. You have Canada, you have the USA, you have Japan, all locked in to this World Series alone. Talk about a World Series. Boys and girls, this is your Friday Junior edition of Box Scores and Bourbon. Let's get it rocking.
Look at the box Scores and Bourbon.
We check each other's box scores and scores online.
Baseball, box scores.
So football, baseball, basketball, soccer, hockey.
Box Scores and Bourbon.
All right, JB,
All right.
welcome back. Welcome
Before
back.
I go deeper into this World Series, let's cheers each other in.
Cheers.
Cheers,
Cheers,
my
everyone.
man.
Clink, clink, clink,
Clink,
clink.
clink.
Welcome back.
Yeah, I didn't even mention the fact that Eric Lauer went 4 2/3 in that game 3 of scoreless baseball, or Will Klein, who was in the Mariners minor league system to begin the season. It was only added to the playoff roster before the World Series started. Not only pitched 4 straight innings, but got the win in that game 3.
Yep.
And then, who's that guy, Mr. All World, who may go down as the greatest baseball player of all time? Oh, yeah, that's right, Shohei. Reached base 9 times. 9 times. 9 times. I think about the greatness of Shohei. The fact that you're going to intentionally walk him
Yeah.
because you would rather face future Hall of Famer Mookie Betts and future Hall of Famer Freddie Freeman. You would rather face those two than face that one guy.
Yeah.
And the crazy part about it is, if you're not going to get him, like I said, it's like a former in the team. I was up for that game. I was up till 1 in the morning.
I cannot believe that.
I worked out and then I went to work. Like
You're
I
crazy.
was sold on that game. I was glued to that game.
That was a wild game. Yeah, you're a bigger fan of baseball than I am, I guess, because after I think it was 11:30, so it must have been the 14th inning.
Yeah.
That I was like 15th inning maybe. I was like, no, I have to go to bed. Like I don't know, they could go on forever. And then I saw Yamamoto warming up. I'm like, there's no way this is gonna go on for way too long. I have to get some sleep.
Yeah.
You watched it till the end. I saw what happened after I went to sleep in the highlights afterwards. Great freaking game. That was like the epitome of what we thought this was gonna be when it came to the World Series, where they're just two heavyweights just clashing at each other. Neither team decide wanting to fold or bend, and the managers doing like really good with like the game management with their pitching rotations and knowing when to take out players, knowing when to rotate their pitchers, when to put pinch hitters or pinch runners on base. Like everything was like the greatest of the minds clashing against each other, which is why it ended up going what was it, 6 hours and 23 minutes by the end of it all. It was an outrageous game, but it did encompass what we talked about at the beginning of the World Series, which was that was going to be such a complicated game for either one of those teams because neither team was gonna fold. Now, when we started the conversation about the World Series last week, you said it was going to come up to the managers, and I had mentioned that for the Blue Jays to win, they were going to have to be able to outbat they weren't going to be able to outbat the Dodgers. They were going to have to find other ways to win. So after even Game 1, I texted you this, but it still applies even now that we're going into Game 6. Were you right about the managering being the most important thing that was going to decide the winner in this game? Or was I wrong about the fact that the Blue Jays weren't going to be able to outbat the Dodgers? Because I'm seeing it right now, they are doing just that. They are finding ways to outbat the Dodgers in all their wins. They've outbatted them, outperformed them offensively across the board. Yeah. Both can be true, I guess. You could be right, I could be wrong. But which one do you think is carrying the most value? Because I got on your ship very early on in Game 1, where I saw what the managers were doing, letting the pitchers stay in. I think both pitchers stayed in Game 1 until like the 6th, 7th inning. And it was like a don't touch it kind of pitching game. That was impressive, and you continue to see that. But again, like I said, I will accept that I possibly was wrong when I said there was no way for the Blue Jays to possibly keep up with the Dodgers and their batting performance.
Yeah, I said before the series started, I was like, the Blue Jays, who were middle of the pack when it came to power, they were going to find ways to win. This team, who is one of the best teams in the majors with the runners in scoring position and with runners on base in general, and they have proven that over and over and over again. And yeah, I mean, there have been moments where Alejandro Kirk comes up, hits a 3-run homer, of course, in that said game 3, and puts the Blue Jays up 3-2 and early on in the game. But
Yep.
and then, of course, last night the game opens up with Davis Schneider and Vladito going back to back.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, this has been a series where the Blue Jays have timely hitting. They are it doesn't matter where you are in that lineup. They are
Mm-hmm.
raring to go,
Yep.
and they are absolutely rising to the occasion, no matter what the moment calls for. And
Yep.
as far as the managers go, look, game 3, they both. I mean, both. Um, who was it? Dan Wilson and Dave Roberts. Both of them, not Dan Wilson. I'm sorry. John Schneider and Dave Roberts. Um, have they both called a spectacular game,
Mm-hmm.
and I gotta say, like when John Schneider ran out of a bench in the 11th or 12th inning, I was like, this is gonna be interesting
Yeah.
because this is now you're out of your backup catcher, you're out of every backup you have on the bench right now.
Mm-hmm.
The Dodgers were loaded on the bench; they didn't have any substitutes in there until later on in the game, until I
Yeah.
think Alex Call came in, and
Mm-hmm.
so. But both of these managers did a great job of utilizing their relievers, of trusting the guys that they put in there, and it just happened to be that Freddie Freeman saw it just ended the game for everyone. He solved the issue with that leadoff homer in the bottom of the 18th
Yeah.
off of I think it was Brendan Little. But this it has been an absolute marathon of a World Series.
Mm-hmm.
It has been so much fun to watch. I have enjoyed every single second of this World Series. And
I'm sure you
no,
watched every single second too.
I've watched almost about every bit of it. And I don't have an affinity to Canada. I have an affinity to baseball, and I have an affinity to who I think is going to win this series, which is why I picked the Blue Jays in 7. I
Mm-hmm.
think the Blue Jays have a much higher ability and capability in being able to hit in the moments where it matters most. And they have proven that time and time again. And I don't blame Dave Roberts for leaving Shohei in for as long as he did in game 4
Mm-hmm.
after that game 3 marathon. But they got to Shohei and they were able to take care of business afterwards. And then, of course, last night, they were able to take care of Blake Snell.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, Yamamoto is on the bump for the Dodgers. And let's not forget, Kevin Gausman's on the bump for the Blue Jays. Blue Jays very much could close it out tomorrow. They very well could.
They could. Yeah.
Um, but I have a sneaky suspicion that a guy who just threw 105 pitches, you know,
And was ready to
um,
pitch in the 19th inning again.
was ready to pitch in the 19th inning. He was in the bullpen. He was
Yeah.
ready to go.
Yeah. He was. He
And
was.
I'm
I think
not
he
gonna
wanted to. I think he was excited
I'm
to.
not gonna lie. I was like, I will give anything for this game to continue, to
Yeah.
watch Yamamoto come in this game
If
and
he would have.
watch
If
him
he would have gone
continue.
into that. If he would have gone into that game, it would have gone like 21 innings. There's no way they were gonna hit on him. He's crazy.
And that's the thing, though, is that it didn't matter because, I think eventually the Dodgers probably win that game, I think based on attrition, because
Yeah.
like I said, their bench was pretty much fully ready to go. They had a bench
Yeah.
still, and so they still could have played the matchup game. Oh, Raiders just scored another touchdown.
Oh, look.
Um,
Dolphins are now
but
losing 21-6. Though
yeah,
what I was gonna say about the extra innings game was that it was impressive that the Blue Jays managed to stay in it in the way that they were staying in it once they went into extra innings, because the Dodgers were regularly getting guys on base. They were regularly hitting
yeah,
a,
mhm,
a single or doubles to get on base, and they were
yeah,
finding a way to
mhm,
get out of it. Now, on the
yeah,
other side, they were struggling to hit the ball once the extra innings came, and that was probably part of the
yeah,
rotation that you're
mhm,
talking about. That bench,
yeah,
the bench just was not keeping up with the pitching that the Dodgers had. So it
yeah,
was kudos to them that they were able to suppress those hard moments so often. But at the end of the day, like Freddie Freeman's going to do what Freddie Freeman does all the time, and finds a way to find the perfect pitch to walk off that game. It was a really good game.
Yeah.
I was glad that you brought Jay Savage up, because I was also very impressed by his pitching. The
Yeah.
way that he started that game, allowing an early run, and then I think the next thing he allowed was like a single or something. But after that, he settled in and he pitched an
Yeah.
amazing game. Even when I think it was the 5th inning, somewhere around there, that they was a slow roller on the first base, and that was the first hit that they had allowed in like 4 innings. And then he pitched the perfect pitch to get a double play to get out of that inning again. He was just immaculate with the way that he was controlling that mound. It was wasn't tracking the type of player that he was. He so new that I hadn't really had a chance to really keep up with him. But man, did he do some good stuff. He was one of the main reasons for that game for sure. There was nothing that was happening for the Dodgers.
Yeah, I mean, after that homer he gave with the Kike in the 3rd inning, it was, I mean, it was lights out before that, and it was lights out after. And I mean, and that, like I said, that homer he gave up the Kike was just a breaking pitch that didn't break nearly enough, and it was just a meatball down the middle of the zone, and Kike just took advantage of it. But that was the only damage. That was it, and so it was an incredible performance by him, and it just reminded me of that what was it, the ALDS game against the Yankees when he absolutely dominated them, and they had no answer for him whatsoever.
Yep.
And coincidentally enough, that was also a game where the Blue Jays hitters were just smashing the ball left and right. And so, but kudos to Trey Savage, kudos to the Blue Jays, kudos to the Dodgers.
You know
I mean,
what?
like I said,
I was going to ask you about the Dodgers. Are you impressed or somewhat impressed with their pitching? Their pitching has not been the reason necessarily that they are losing games. And we thought that was going to be maybe the reason that they did lose games. They haven't had like some crazy pitching that has caused them major issues offensively or defensively.
Yeah. No, I'm very impressed. I'm really impressed with Dave Roberts for trusting his starters. I mean, he left Blake Snell in after 118 pitches last night. And so, I mean, he relied heavily on the strength of the pitching infrastructure that he has, which is his starters. And he is giving it to them. He is letting them go out there into ball. And I'm not going to blame him for that, because baseball is a game of attrition. It is a game of endurance, and the on the pitching side, those who have the most endurance are the starters. And being able to leave your starters in for as long as you possibly can, and before you turn the ball over to your bullpen, I think is huge. And look, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not the biggest Dave Roberts fan there is, but I think what he's done since the NLCS against the Brewers, and leaving these starters in and letting them cook for as long as they can until the wheels fall off, is a testament to him, because he's telling, look, I trust you, go out there and do the thing.
Yeah. There was multiple times, I think during the regular season especially, where he kind of got jittery with his pitching, and he would pull his pitcher a little bit, his starting pitcher a little bit earlier than you would expect. And usually, at least some of the games that I saw, once they pulled the starter, like instantly the opponent like kind of got some hits on the relief pitcher or whoever they were bringing in. They happened multiple times. I thought that was going to happen last night with Blake Snell, because he was allowing some pitches to hang and allowing some base runners to get on base, but he left them and he trusted, and that was completely not what he had necessarily been used to.
It's not his usual MO
No.
to do that. And so, I mean, all credit to him for doing it, and I'm sure the Blue Jays appreciate it. But I did say that in order for the Blue Jays to win the series, they were going to have to knock out these Dodger starters early. They were going to have to. And the way Dave Roberts has been doing this, that means 6th inning. Knock them out by the 6th inning and get to the bullpen. allow your offense a little room to breathe so you can face the likes of Blake Trinan and the rest. And I don't know what's going on with Blake Trinan, but he has not been his his dominant self at all, and he has given up runs left and right.
Hmm.
And it's unfortunate given his pedigree as a top tier reliever, but that has not been the case this postseason.
Who's that pitcher for the Dodgers? Is his last name Gutierrez? The bench pitcher for the Dodgers. I think that's his last name. I was gonna look it up real quick. I think it's him that I'm thinking of, but I feel like if there was an issue, I think I'm thinking of the right guy. Maybe I'm getting the wrong name. There's this bench pitcher that every time he's come on,
Enriquez?
Enriquez, every
Mhm.
time that he's come onto the mound, like it feels like that's like a weak spot for the Dodgers where the Blue Jays have managed to get some hits on him. Like a couple of games now, I think
Yeah.
he's come on the mound, and for some reason they're figuring out his pitches. I think that would be the one thing pitching wise that I would say is maybe a little concern. I think that was always the concern that like their bench pitchers or their relief pitchers were going to be the issue for the Dodgers. But it just
Yeah.
seems a little weird that there's such a targeted attention to that kind of thing happening
Yeah.
to specifically him. It's just a little weird to me that it's such an obvious
Mhm.
weak point for the Dodgers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Enriquez has a 4.5 ERA. Bonda has a 9.5. Trinan is just below 7 ERA. So, I mean, overall, I mean, this bullpen has not been the best for the Dodgers, and it has not been proven, you know, uh, really any benefit other
No,
than that game three. That game three was the one where, and then this my next point is, if I'm the Dodgers, I'm not putting Clayton Kershaw in ever again. I'm
no, he's
letting him live
yeah,
on that one out with the bases loaded, getting him out of the jam, and then getting to the top of the 13th. That's what
yeah,
I'm doing. I'm not letting him touch the baseball. He
no,
is wearing a hoodie in the dugout. He's not going to the bullpen. I'm not calling on him again
no,
because that was probably that whole time I was watching the game. I was like, look, I mean, Kershaw's been warming up for quite some time. He warmed up 3 times. And I was like, there's a reason why they're holding off. They're waiting for the exact right moment to put him in the game. And Dave Roberts chose the right batter to put him in. He
mm-hmm.
ended the slow ground with the first. That was it. The
Yeah,
inning was over.
yeah.
So I'm not putting Kershaw in. I'm not gonna have a chance to tarnish his
Yeah,
playoff
leave a bitter
legacy.
taste in his mouth as he's retired. That would suck for him.
Yeah,
Even if they lose the
yeah,
series.
just let that be his moment.
Yeah. Lastly,
And
before we close out the World Series conversation, what do the Dodgers have to do, if anything, but what they've been doing? What do they have to do to win this series? Because they need 2 wins in a row.
I don't know if they can win the series. I mean they have okay. In order to win the series, who I don't know I know who's starting game 6. Who's starting game 7? They don't even know yet. It's not even listed yet.
Mm-mm.
So I'll say this: in order to get to game 7, Yamamoto is going to have to be lights out tomorrow. Absolutely lights out. He's going to have to shut them down like he did against the um uh uh Brewers. He's gonna have to and then the what
He
was his
pitched
stat line?
2.
Was his stat line the let's
He
see.
played. He pitched. Yeah.
Yeah. I think yeah and he's gonna have to shut him down like he did game 2.
Yeah.
And he's gonna have to absolutely replicate that. He's gonna have to be the one that's gonna uh just put a nail in the coffin for the Blue Jays in game 6 and
Just
force a game 7.
and then hope that the bats and the pitching all work together and win 2 in a row. Is that what you're getting at?
Honestly, if it gets to game 7, I could see the Dodgers just treating it like an all-star game, using every single person they have. And I mean I mean, what the Yamamoto with his 9 inning, 105 pitch performance, and then again wanting to come in there 2 days later to pitch the 19th inning is just absolutely ludicrous. But the best chance I give the Dodgers to win this series is to just get to Game 7. And I know that sounds like simpleton talk because they'll have to win Game 6 to get to Game 7, but that's honestly their best shot.
I mean,
Is
yeah, anything can happen once it's a 1-game series.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to the last game of the season, when it's winner take all for both teams, um, anything can happen.
Yep.
Anything can.
Yeah.
And if I'm the Dodgers, if I'm Dave Roberts, I'm not talking about how to win the series. I'm talking about how to win Game 6.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on Game 6.
Yeah.
And if I'm John Schneider, I'm talking about Game 6.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about close this out in front of the hometown fans. Close it out in the Rogers Center. Let's give them something to celebrate about. And, if I'm a betting man, I'm going to say Kevin Gausman, he's going to come out ready. That dude's not going to be shaken. He's not going to be, making too many mistakes. I think tomorrow's going to be a pitcher's duel, however long the starters are in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we're at the point in the series where we can safely say both. It's a 1-game series for both teams. The Blue Jays just have to win 1 game. The Dodgers just have to focus on 1 game and hopefully just force the hand of the Blue Jays. Because once you put the pressure on the team that lost Game 6 when they had the chance to close out that game, once you put the pressure on them and you force it to Game 7, you really have all the momentum of winning that Game 6 to force Game 7. So it's a 1-game series across the board. We'll see what happens. I don't think I'm going to stick with my pick. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm still thinking that the Dodgers are going to find a way to win it in Game 7. You're still going to stick with the Blue Jays winning it in Game 7. So we'll see what happens in the next weekend, and we'll have to touch on it on next week's episode and see what happened to the Dodgers, see what happened to the Blue Jays if they end up choking two games in a row.
Yeah.
But moving on from the World Series, there was some major news that had you jumping out of your pants over the week.
Yes, it did.
And it has to do with one of your favorite teams out of Louisiana. JB, what happened this past week with LSU?
So it started on a cloudy morning in 1986. I was born. No. It started with LSU up by 4 at halftime against Texas A&M in Death Valley at night, with LSU's playoff hopes on the line. Already at 2 losses, they could not lose another game or they were going to be completely out of it. And then all of a sudden, all hell broke loose. Texas A&M ran all over LSU. It was awful. It was just the worst thing I've seen since the opening to Saving Private Ryan. It was not anything that I would subject your kids to. If you're hoping your kids will be LSU fans, don't show them that second half. LSU got outscored 35-7 in the second half. It was absolutely brutal. It was not fun. And then speculation started that Brian Kelly was going to be fired. And the speculation started Brian Kelly was going to be fired before speculation came out he was going to be fired. And every LSU fan on Twitter, including yours truly, was wondering, is this it for BK? Is he still going to be able to have it his way? And BK was no longer able to have it his way because Sunday night, news dropped after myriad conversations, after long hours in a night, Brian Kelly was fired as the LSU head coach and Frank Wilson placed as the interim. And now the big question is, who's going to be the next head coach at LSU?
Yeah. So, on that topic, I came up with a short list of teams that I wanted to ask you, or not teams, of coaches that could possibly be LSU's head coach candidate. I have 3 of them for you. I want you to tell me Your take on them, how much would you like about them, whether they
Mhm.
should or shouldn't take the job, and overall what the whole feeling about that specific candidate is, okay? First off, I have Lane Kiffin out of Ole Miss for you. How do you feel about potentially LSU stealing an Ole Miss coach to bring in as their head coach?
Um, Lane Kiffin obviously is the hottest name right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the hottest name of the likely candidates to be able to get the job. Here's what I'll say about Lane. I don't think he leaves Ole Miss. I think ever since, Lane has sobered up. He's become a family man. His family loves Oxford. He is building something special at Ole Miss. And given what the LSU Tigers need, primarily someone who is mean, nasty, and tough and loves the recruiting trail, Lane Kiffin does not meet any of those criteria.
Now, if they
And
missed out on the playoffs for some reason, because right now they're doing really well, if they missed out on the
they are,
playoffs,
but I don't think I honestly don't think it matters. So Jacob Hester said something, and he was 100% right. If you're in that, if you're on the hiring committee and you're not sure if the person that you're trying to hire has the passion to be the head coach at LSU, if what they're worried about is what's my contract going to look like,
mm-hmm,
that's not the guy you want to hire. And you're
mm-hmm,
going to need to back up the truck to get Lane Kiffin for him to leave Ole Miss, especially for the points I just mentioned, for the fact that his family loves Oxford. He's a family man now, and he has absolutely changed from his time as being the head coach of the Raiders, of the Trojans, of the Volunteers. He has gone through the gauntlet
yeah.
of being a young head coach 3 different times. He's in a place now where I absolutely believe he's found his niche, and I don't think he's leaving Ole Miss. I
Now, would you
honestly
like
don't.
him there though? Would you like if for some miraculous reason he was like, "Yeah, I'll listen to what you have to say about LSU." Would you like him as an LSU head coach? Do you think he
I would
fits?
not Lane Kiffin as LSU head coach, but I don't think he's leaving.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't think he's going to leave. I don't.
For some reason,
And
there's always
even
talks about him leaving. I don't get that part. They always like any
the only
position. They're always
reason
like
they're
Lane Kiffin.
talking about it is because of the fact that he's Lane Kiffin and what he's doing already in the SEC as it is
Mm-hmm.
at Ole Miss. All of his SEC experience prior to that as a coordinator. And so, of course, they're going to talk about him going to LSU. But I don't think, look, if LSU comes calling, which they most likely will,
Mm-hmm.
I think Lane Kiffin's ears will perk up. I think he'll definitely listen because the last hiring cycle, neither LSU nor Florida called Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
Neither one of these schools wanted him. And now he's the hot chick at school. He's the chick that took off her glasses and let her hair grow out and with a little bit of makeup. Now she's like, you know, the hottest girl at school. She's all that now. So but I think LSU comes calling Lane Kiffin, his ears will perk up, but I don't think he's leaving.
Okay. I have the second candidate is another coach that already has a home. They would have to pry them away from that school. Kenny Dillingham from Arizona State. How do you feel about bringing in a young coach from Arizona State where he's had success? He had Arizona
Yeah.
State in the Final Four last year, built a good program there. Young, energetic, offensive-minded coach. Bring
Yeah.
him to LSU.
I wouldn't mind Kenny in Baton Rouge either. But I think with Kenny, and I think it'd be it would be a longer process of talks with Kenny coming to LSU, but Kenny's all about the players.
Yeah.
Kenny's all about being able to be there for his players. I think Kenny enjoys the environment in Arizona State, being able to just focus on his team, focus on getting his players ready. And if Kenny were to be the head coach of LSU, I would have zero opposition to that. I would I would love it. Like you said, he's young, he's
Mhm.
energetic, he knows how to put a team together, he knows how to get them ready for a ball game. I just don't think Kenny's gonna leave Arizona State. I think Kenny is he is uh, just like Lane Kiffin. I think he's fine at Arizona State. And let me check something real quick. Go ahead and finish your questions.
Okay. The last candidate is a candidate that is looking for a home. This one I think you'll really like. It almost makes a lot of sense. A coach that was recently fired, James Franklin from Penn State.
No, I don't even talk about it. No, not
Why
happening.
not? He's
No,
a good match. He builds a program. He has consistent success. He knows how
no.
to take your program regularly to the playoffs or any
Mm.
type of competitive bowl. Like, why would you not want him? James
Here's
Franklin
why.
is okay.
Here's why. I don't. So nothing against James Franklin. He's going to get another head coaching job,
He
and
is.
he's going to be just fine. The reason I don't want James Franklin is for the same reasons that they fired Brian Kelly. James Franklin has already had rumored reputation, a reputation based off of rumors or reality about being very self-centered, being very image-based, being very about, you know, what the program looks like in accordance to how it makes him look. I don't want James Franklin. And
Ooh,
LSU shouldn't want James Franklin. You can do 6-7 all day long,
no, I'm not
but
doing 6-7. I'm doing like the
but
why not?
but if your concern is being able to get your players to play as a unit, James Franklin is not the guy that I'm considering,
Interesting.
especially after what happened after the Oregon game. And then they go and they play UCLA, and then who was it? Northwestern they lost to. I think it
I
was.
think that's right.
If your concern is being able to build unity with your team to play them as one unit, then no. That is not a guy I want to consider. I don't
But
want to consider him
my
at all.
thing would be once they fired him from Penn State, the players seemed like they really bought into him. They seemed like they were hurt about the fact that he was no longer their coach. It seems like he's a players guy. It seems like he brings the players
The same
aspect
thing
of
was
things.
said about Brian Kelly after he was fired. You've had a number of ex players come out and say, well, Brian Kelly cared about me. I loved playing for him.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is not only is it the reputation, but can you produce when it's time to produce? Are you able to lead a team to the promised land? And I get Penn State was a play away against Notre Dame from making it to the national championship game last
Mm-hmm.
year. That can never be forgotten. And it can't be forgotten that James Franklin took Penn State from a really dark time and built a consistent, sustained winner at Penn State. But I don't want though. The hiring committee at LSU is not going to consider someone who has those type of personal questions or that reputation about being someone who is more focused on the image as opposed to working as a unit.
Mm.
I'm not saying James Franklin doesn't have that ability. I'm not saying that Virginia Tech, if it is true that they're about to hire him, that he won't succeed at Virginia Tech. But that's Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech standards are a lot lower than LSU standards.
Wow. Better hope no Virginia Tech fans are listening because they would come for your head.
If any Virginia Tech fan is listening, then hopefully they believe in reality because we all know what this is about. This is not about hiring a good coach. This is not about hiring a great coach. This is about hiring an elite level coach who can build a team that is elite. This is not about trying to get pretty good or really great. This is about elite level football.
Mm-hmm. So why don't you tell me what you think LSU needs? And I'm sure you have some names on your like your head and on maybe written down what you think they should be looking. So tell me what you think LSU needs, and tell me these names that you have as far as who they should be looking at.
Okay, I'm gonna run through 10 names that, well, 9 names now because you took off one of them already, Lane Kiffin.
Oh,
I'm gonna run
nice.
through 9 names that I think LSU is gonna run through, and I'm gonna and I'm at the end I'm gonna give my consideration as to who I would most likely like to see based off who would be available from who they would actually take.
Mm-hmm.
So, number 1, Nick Saban. Nick
Mm.
Saban has always said leaving LSU was his biggest professional regret. But you'd have to offer the world to him, but I think he still says no. Him and Miss Terry, I think, are enjoying the twilight years of their life together. I
Yeah.
don't think, and Nick Saban is too much of a perfectionist to just take a contract just to take a contract. He's gonna dive deep, deep into not just the game planning, but also the recruiting trail in
Mm-hmm.
order to make LSU the elite dominant force that it's supposed to be and it can be.
Yeah.
Number 2, Urban Meyer. He's too young to not be coaching right now. But I
Urban
think the
Meyer?
reason, yeah, Urban Meyer. I think the reason why LSU will not consider him that closely, I think there's too much baggage from his Jaguar
Mhm.
head coaching days.
Yep.
And he may be not the most sympathetic guy, just like Kelly. And I don't think you want to bring in someone who is like Kelly into that clubhouse on that sideline if you're trying to build an elite level team.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, Joe Brady. Now, Joe Brady was a wide receivers coach. He was the quarterbacks coach during the summer of 10,000 catches. But it was Steve Emsinger who was the OC of that team. And I think Joe Brady gets too much credit for that season. Of course, brought forth some, interesting play calls and some schematics. But Joe Brady's on the record for saying he left the college level because he doesn't want to recruit.
Yep.
And when you're the OC for the Bills, you have a real shot at being a NFL head coach. And I
Yep.
think that's what Joe Brady wants.
I think
And
so.
plus, I think Joe Brady's the head coach of the Bengals next season.
Ooh.
Um, you have Lane Kiffin we talked about. My next one is Dan Lanning. I I don't think that there is a reason for him to leave a pathway to continued playoff success through the Big Ten to slug it out year to year in the SEC just to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
The
No.
reason for optimism, he is a defensive mind, and LSU has every resource available to him every year to put up a top D in the nation. And he's also served on staffs in both Alabama and Georgia and has an understanding of what it takes to win in the SEC. But on top of that, he's also on record with saying that his family loves Eugene and he can go to a restaurant and not be recognized. You become the head coach at LSU, you can't even go to the Winn Dixie. It's going to take you 3 hours just to get the bread you want because everyone's going to be stopping you.
You leave
Mark Lee,
Oregon. Who's that?
what's that?
Who's the name that you just said?
Just now, Clark Lee.
Oh, okay.
Clark Lee, Vandy head coach. He's of course brought this program up from levels lower than dirt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but my question is, how much of this is Diego Pavia's doing? How much of it is Diego Pavia existing in Nashville that has brought Vanderbilt to its levels? I think it's partly both. I mean, Clark Lee is absolutely a beast on the sideline. But for me, if I'm LSU, I would want to see a little bit more beyond Diego Pavia before I pull the trigger on this.
Yeah.
Um, but a reason for optimism. He's also a strong defensive mastermind. He knows what it takes to produce annual winners on that side of the ball. The next one is Jeff Brom, and I bring up this name, the head coach of Louisville, because this is the name that keeps getting floated around for some reason. He's had success everywhere he's been, but no matter and no matter how unlikely, first at Western Kentucky, he turned them into a winner, and then at Purdue, and now his hometown in Louisville, and I think it's because of it's his hometown, just like Kenny Dillingham, whose
Mm-hmm.
alma mater is ASU.
Yep.
I don't think he leaves Louisville. I think he wants to stay. I think there's a real Brent Venables type of connection here. Brent Venables, OU alum, loves Oklahoma, and will stay there no matter what. And I bring this up in whole because the NCAA has lost its regional touch, but
Mm-hmm.
you can't take away the sentimentality from human beings. I mean, we have a connection to the places we grew up, the places we went to, and better or worse, we have a strong connection to those places. Um, my next one, oh, there are reasons I would love to see them hire this guy, but because of Billy Napier, I don't think they will. And that's John Sumrall. John Sumrall, the head coach at Tulane, has had
Mm-hmm.
success at Troy and also Tulane. The
Mm-hmm.
problem is, just like Billy Napier, remember when Florida hired Billy Napier, he was the hot, lower D1 coach. He was the hot name. He was coaching at ULL. He was doing great things there. And Florida jumped on the opportunity to bring him into Florida. And now he's fired, which is why I think John Summerall won't get the attention that I think he actually deserves to be able to be the next head coach at LSU. And because of that, John Summerall won't get the LSU job. He will be the head coach at Auburn next season for the
Oh,
simple
interesting.
fact that John Summerall is an Alabama guy. My next one is Willie Fritz. Um, he's had over 200 head coaching wins. He's the head coach at Houston right now. He was the guy um, uh, uh, that came before John Summerall at Tulane. He's the one that made Tulane into a winner. John Summerall has continued that. But Willie Fritz has been highly regarded for building winning cultures no matter where he is, and having competitive teams. He's lauded for his ability to instill discipline fundamentals. Um, the reason for pessimism, he's not the sexiest name, and he's pretty high up in age.
Yep.
And unless you're Nick Saban, I don't think they consider him. My last one, Brent Key, the head coach for Georgia Tech. Brent Key has done nothing but surprise everyone with his ability to turn the Georgia Institute of Technology into a annual winner. And he's done this even without the health of his star quarterback, Haynes King, who I think is one of the most athletic quarterbacks in the NCAA and doesn't get talked about nearly enough. Brent Key spent time as the offensive line coach under Nick Saban from 2016 to 2018. And so he understands what it means to build an offensive line. What's LSU's problem this year? The biggest one? The offensive line. It is playing like a bag of arse. It is awful. It is terrible. It can't be sustained. You cannot win in the trench. You can't win games if you can't win the trenches. And this LSU offensive line is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Brent Key has a focus on recruiting, especially in-state recruiting. Imagine Brent Key in the state of LSU, where you have no other real competition in that state. And I get NIL is a thing that exists now. That's the reality of today's college football. But if you have a coach who is tough and focuses on recruiting, especially in-state recruiting, the Louisiana is a hotbed of football talent, a hotbed,
Mm-hmm.
and you cannot uh, belittle the impact that bringing in LSU talent to play LSU football and what that would mean to the LSU football program, what that would mean to the city of Baton Rouge, what that would mean to the state. And then my last one is Frank Wilson. Um, Frank Wilson is Louisiana through and through, and he is right now. He's the interim head coach at LSU. He bleeds Louisiana. He is Louisiana, and if he leads LSU to a 5-0 or 4-1 finish, I think there's a real shot he gets consideration. Now, I think Ed Orgeron is the reason why Frank Wilson won't get hired. Orgeron won a national championship for LSU in 2019, but following that, the 2 straight losing seasons, and then he was ousted, and then we get to Brian Kelly. I think there was something there where LSU might be a little skittish giving the head coaching job, the permanent one, to a guy who served as the interim following what happened with Ed Orgeron.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that said, after all of those candidates, all the ones available for LSU to pick from, who they can most likely pick, I would say Brent Key from Georgia Tech would be the one that fits the mold the most. Is he a Louisiana guy? No, he's not. But for every single thing that I mentioned about him, I think he would be absolutely perfect on the sidelines in purple and gold, being the LSU head coach. I wouldn't mind Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning, I think, would do fantastic at LSU. He's a recruiting guy. He's a defensive-minded guy. He knows how to build a consistent winner. I think Dan Lanning would be great. And money's not going to be an option. It's not going to be, I don't care what Jeff Landry says. I don't care how much he puts his foot in his mouth with inserting himself into the whole drama that is the next LSU head coach. But I think this is more important than just getting this right. This is more important than LSU football. Jeff Duncan, a reporter out of New Orleans who writes for The Athletic, gave a very interesting statistic about the state of Louisiana professional sports. Dating back to last season, the Pelicans have lost 11 in a row. Dating back to last season, the Saints have lost 11 of 12. This is a dark time in Louisiana sports.
Yeah.
A dark time. You want to be able to bring up the morale level. You want to level up the countenance of Louisiana football fans and sports fans. You get this LSU hire right. You get it correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say somewhere between December 20th and January 2nd is when we're going to hear who's going to be the next head coach at LSU. And there's one name I didn't bring up, and that's Kelvin Shepard, the defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. He played at LSU. He knows LSU. He understands LSU. But because he's never been a head coach before at any level, I don't think LSU wants to roll the dice. I don't think they can afford it. Which is why, out of all the names, like I said, I think Brent Key is the most likely candidate from the pool of candidates that LSU would actually consider to be the next head coach, or would be the first real offer to be the next head coach at LSU.
I thought you were gonna go more with John Sumrall. Everything that you were saying kind of pointed at him making the most sense. Building a
I
program
love John
up.
Summerall. This
Yeah.
dude has toughness.
Yep.
This dude knows how to sustain a winning program. But like I said, I think Billy Napier ruined that. I do not think the hiring committee at LSU is going to consider him because of Billy Napier. I think Billy Napier ruined it for John
Yeah.
Sumrall to be the next head coach at LSU.
Yeah. Them bringing up the interim. I was gonna bring up the same thing with. I don't think LSU would follow the same step they did with Ed Orgeron because of the how it was kind of a weird hiring situation. Yet, like you said, they got a national championship out of it, but the entire time that he was there was kind of like a weird hire where it was a forced hand because he was the people's guy of Baton Rouge or Louisiana. Like they just almost like they were forced to hire him, but they never really wanted him. I don't
Yeah.
think they would have if they would go down
Yeah.
that path either. But yeah, Georgia Tech is like a pretty good established school. Out of all the what is it 9-10 names that you said, the last three, John Sumrall, the Georgia Tech coach, and there was one more that I'm forgetting who you brought up. All the other coaches that were already in another program, there's too many ties that I noticed as you were going through them where there was no way they were going to be leaving. The Oregon coach, the Louisiana coach, I threw out the ASU coach on my side without necessarily being too optimistic that he would necessarily leave Arizona State because of the fact that he has ties to Arizona State. But a lot of the names that you brought up, they're so embedded into that program. Even the was it Vanderbilt, the coach for Vanderbilt that you mentioned him too. Like I think he even a coach like him where he has a good program. I think coaches like that are looking to establish a more solidified program. They want to see built on success continuously for their own sake. Like I think they want to establish a program and then see it succeed, not necessarily jump ship the moment they start seeing success. Besides those two names from the Georgia Tech and John Summer, those were the two of the three names I thought were for sure like the most likely of the names to come across LSU's coaching hire.
Yeah. I mean, look, LSU is the hottest position on the market. It's the hottest.
Really? Not Penn State.
Absolutely. Not Penn State. No.
Not Penn State.
LSU has the resources. LSU has the deep pockets. LSU has Louisiana has the talent.
Yeah.
That is necessary to build a program like a sustained elite level program that LSU is used to. And need I remind you, we're going to be the LSU and everyone in the world is going to be stuck on the flashiest of names. But since 2000, LSU has won 3 national championships under Nick Saban, which makes sense. It's Nick Saban. Under Les Miles, which is like, okay, that was definitely a weird time, the Mad Hatter. And then Ed Orgeron.
Yeah.
When you think about, and then Brian Kelly's there and doesn't win one, and he's fired. The winningest head coach in Notre Dame history does not win a national championship at LSU. And if you would have told me out of Nick Saban, Les Miles, Ed Orgeron, Brian Kelly, who was the least likely to win a national championship, Brian Kelly would not be at the top of my list.
It
would not be.
The expectation was really high for him because of how he consistently had that success with Notre Dame. Everybody thought that he was just missing that big market of like being in a conference, having that name attached to your program, like being in Louisiana where there's so much homegrown talent. Including myself, I thought he was going to be a perfect fit for LSU because he was just missing a couple things here and there when it came to the recruiting and bringing in that talent compared to like Notre Dame at a conference, all the stuff that comes with not being attached to a conference, all that stuff, it seemed to be the perfect fit for him at LSU. And for some reason, it just didn't work out. Now, do you think now he tries going to the pros? Where do you, to close this whole thing out, what do you think happens to him? Because he seemed like he was going to be set in LSU, and there was no like, where are we going from here?
Yeah.
It seemed like LSU was like the plant to your tree and kind of stay there until you retire program. And now he's gone, and I don't necessarily know if he's going to try staying in the college realm it doesn't seem like it fits too well for him to go to another program. If you get fired the way he did from LSU, a big name program, maybe a smaller school brings you on. I'm not even too sure he wants a smaller program to go be the head coach of. So where are you at when it comes to like, what do you think where he goes next?
I think Brian Kelly is the next head coach at UCLA.
Oh, okay.
I think he goes to UCLA, and I think he turns that program around to the point where UCLA is proud of it, and he rebuilds his image and his resume. And you go to UCLA and you win 8 games a season. That's pretty darn good for UCLA standards.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely think he could. I think if Brian Kelly is in a situation where the pressure, not the pressure, but where the expectation is a little bit less
Mm-hmm.
than where it was at LSU, because even at Notre Dame, I don't think the expectation wasn't really there. I mean, hiring Brian Kelly was one of those before he got there was like, okay, well, let's roll the dice on this guy. He's won at a few lower level schools,
Mm-hmm.
uh, other than Notre Dame. Let's hire him. He became the winningest head coach in Notre Dame history. Then he goes to LSU, and then from after year one, the wheels just fall off. And um, I think him. I don't think he goes to the NFL. I think he stays at collegiate level, and I think he becomes the next head coach at UCLA. I think he finds his footing again before the next big spot opens, and he goes there.
See, I don't. I guess in a way it makes sense. UCLA with California being such a big sports market, there would definitely be not as much pressure. But if we're talking about it being like a stepping stone, that's where have a little bit of an issue with that. If he's going to go to another program, I would think that he would want to go somewhere where he has no pressure in order to be able to be there long term and build a sustained program like he did with Notre Dame. He was so successful with Notre Dame because there was no pressure. He was consistently building that program. I think I would think he would want to do something similar if he went to UCLA, sure, or any other school. But any school as a stepping stone, I don't necessarily think that he would necessarily be looking for something like that.
Yeah, no, I honestly think that he goes there. I think he goes there to rebuild his image. And it's interesting because UCLA is part of the Big Ten,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a lot of familiarity with playing Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be able to help build his resume in another Power Four conference, and eventually he will get his shot again.
Interesting. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. LSU's and I think you said it perfectly accurate. It's in a very weird, dark place where you never expected LSU to be in. Like you expect elite level football coming out of Louisiana. If anything, I would say Louisiana has a bigger footprint in the college world than it does in the NFL. The Saints are always going to be like the team of the end of Louisiana too, but success.
LSU, like in Louisiana, LSU football has a huge footprint.
Yeah.
And
yep. And it just goes hand in hand that like college football is like the Louisiana team.
Same season, I can tell you, on the Sundays that the Saints lose, it's a lot easier to digest if the night prior LSU won.
Right.
On the weekends that LSU and the Saints both lose, it is a somber weekend. May as well have a parade for a funeral because it's not good. It is a somber atmosphere. And before the pod started, it was announced Scott Woodward, the AD of LSU, was fired.
Oh, really?
He's not returning.
Wow.
And so now, on top of hiring a new head coach for LSU, they have to hire a new president because the previous one left for Rutgers. And then now they have to hire a new AD, and now they have to hire a new head coach. And so LSU's got its work cut out for them.
Yeah,
and
sounds like a
all I
complete
can
reset.
hope is that whoever they're hiring those 3 positions equals a long success at LSU, elite level success for LSU. And I'm not going to be mad at Scott Woodward because he's also the one that hired Jay Johnson, who, if I'm not mistaken, my LSU Tigers won the the Natty in college baseball under Jay Johnson. So I don't fully fault Scott Woodward for the hiring of Brian Kelly. I don't think anyone expected this to happen. I don't think anyone expected someone of Brian Kelly's profile
Yep.
for the wheels to fall off while he was the head coach.
So quickly too. That's the part that 3 years? 3 full seasons? Or 2.5 full seasons, whatever. Anyways, we're done. We are completely out of time, JB. Another great episode. Another great week.
And
Can't
you
wait
told
to
me
see.
before the podcast this can't be an LSU Citric episode. And I told you it wouldn't be. So if you have something else on your mind, you can say it. We can.
No, we have a special entry of good cop, bad cop. If we have time for a good cop, bad cop, let's bring in the good cop, bad cop section of our episode as we close things out. All right. So, as we make time for this, there is one major development in the NFL that happened over this weekend that I want to ask you about. Your favorite running back in the NFL is probably Scadaboo. Maybe.
No, it's not. But
second favorite then. You liked him in college. We'll give it. He broke his leg, or he's dislocated his ankle over the weekend, which his season is now over. Now, we're going to talk about the Giants in the good cop, bad cop way. We never talk about the Giants on this episode, on this podcast. But I feel like it's a good time to talk about it.
Yeah.
With Scadaboo and Jackson Dart as their rookie prodigies for the New York Giants. The question is, Brian Daboll has done enough to save his job with the New York Giants. Now, JB, as per usual, you get to pick. Do you want to be the good cop or the bad cop on this segment?
Ooh, for Brian Daboll saving his job with the Giants, let me be.
I feel like it's a sticky question. Yeah.
I'll play. You know what? To make it interesting, I'll play good cop.
All right. Give me your reasons on why you think Brian Daboll did enough to save his job.
Good cop says Brian Daboll did enough to save his job because he turned to Jackson Dart in a time of need. He turned to Jackson Dart at a pivotal moment to see if the quarterback the Giants traded up for would be the one to save this franchise. And I would say he has, because as the good cop, because if you look at that Bronco game, that Denver Bronco game, which the Giants eventually lost on the last second field goal, he has done enough to save his job because of his willingness to evaluate Jackson Dart, especially in a season where he was on the hot seat already.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not his fault that Cam Scadaboo got hurt. And so I'm not going to hold that against him. But his willingness to roll the dice and to go to an unproven rookie to see what he has in order to help save the Giants season, I think for that reason alone, Brian Daboll has done enough to save his job for next season.
So from the bad cop perspective, I think he has not done enough to save his job because all the pieces happen to be falling in place a little too likely in a good way, but it was mostly luck. He was already on the hot seat. The Jackson Dart draft, everybody expected him to be developmental this year, with Russell Wilson being the start of the entire season. he said all year long that he was not going to play Jackson Dart until he was fully ready. And all of a sudden, after Russell Wilson struggled 2-3 weeks in a row, where they just did not look good after the Cowboys game, that after the Russell Wilson and against the Cowboys, his wheels really fell off. All of a sudden, Jackson Dart was magically ready. When the team was struggling, all of a sudden Jackson Dart was magically ready, and then Scadaboo started going off, and some offensive connections started happening. But I just don't think it's enough for what has already been shown in your tenure as the New York Giants head coach. You got lucky with Scadaboo. You got lucky that he fell all the way down to the Giants in the 5th round, I think is where they took him. The fact that you had a little spurt of potential with your 2 rookies does not change the fact that you have had 4 years of not being able to put anything together offensively or defensively for that matter. And then now you have Daniel Jones going off in Indianapolis as a pretty, reliable, reliable, established quarterback, kind of gives you, as a Giants head coach, more of a dagger to stab yourself with, because now people can say, well, then maybe Daniel Jones wasn't the problem, and you couldn't pull what Indianapolis is getting out of Daniel Jones from the quarterback play. I think everything else that has happened in the league, and the fact that there wasn't necessarily too much to show for, and how long they have had Brian Daboll given him the opportunity to show success with the Giants, I just don't think you could necessarily say, well, we could have done good things if Scadaboo didn't get hurt. We know what you could do with the team. You just didn't show it this season. You didn't show enough at all in your entire tenure. I don't think you catching a lucky break for 3 games then necessarily does enough to save your job.
Well, I mean, as the good cop, I mean, Malik Neighbors was lost for the season a month ago, so it doesn't help that a top level receiver on your team, with the only top level receiver on your team, is gone. And so you have to, and he was making it work with Cam Scadaboo, who's now hurt, and now Wan'Dale Robinson is really the only playmaker they have on offense. So, I mean, if anything, this is a front office mess up, because you didn't add enough talent. If you knew at some point you were going to draft Jackson Dart to be able to be the star quarterback of the New York Giants, and you don't give Jackson Dart enough weapons or enough depth to be able to cover for the injuries that inevitably occur in the NFL, then and look, to your point, Brian Daboll has had enough time.
Yeah, he has
had enough time at the Giants, and I was surprised as any, as a good cop, to know that he was, still there for the beginning of the season. I did not expect it. I was not anticipating that to be the case, but he's still there. And to put all of this on Brian Daboll, maybe they were setting him up for failure. I don't know, but it's not a good look on the organization as a whole, I'll say.
Yeah, too many times I've seen teams when they get the injury plague and they're like trying to decide on their head coach, they use the get out of jail free card, like, well, poor me, like my team was beat up. How do you expect me to build success when my team gets beat up?
Yeah.
That backfires way too many times. I don't want to see that. I don't really care for the Giants. If anything, I hope they keep him and screw the franchise over for even longer. But I don't want to see another franchise fall into the trap of, God, by golly, you could have done so good if it wasn't that you lost 2 of your 3 star players this season. We expected you to bring success to this organization, make the playoffs, and you're going to build a whole culture out of we have given you 4 years prior to build. Now, this was the year that you were going to get it all together. I'm not buying that. I just think that is going to be such a scapegoat come this offseason, where he's going to say, well, this is what I could have done. Look what we were doing. I think it's going to be a scapegoat for him to try saving his job. I don't think the Giants should fall for that trap, because if you're going to have him on a short leash, let him go. start with a coach that you want to have coach Jackson Dart for the long term instead of having this short term 2-year coach that you kind of are never fully going to be fully bought into.
Yeah.
Let him go. No matter the injuries happen to every team. It's about what you do in spite of all your injuries. And I don't necessarily think he's shown that he can do anything. He's just getting lucky with the fact that his 2 rookies were kind of showing some promising aspects of their game.
Fair enough. I have no argument to that. Yeah.
Well,
Bad Cop wins this segment.
For the social media, for everybody that is listening and watching us, give us your thoughts. Tell us who is right or what your thoughts are. Brian Daboll, should he be saving his job? Is JB correct that maybe there was too much bad breaks and he could get something good going? Or do you think, you know what, enough is enough and Brian Daboll should be going? And on that note, that is another closed out episode or section of our Good Cop, Bad Cop.
Yes.
Now, JB, tell me what we were drinking, or tell me what you were drinking. Tell me what you were smoking.
I didn't smoke anything this episode, but I was drinking this Masters Distillers that I found at Walmart. I picked it up for no other reason other than I was curious.
Nice. I, again, scratching the bottom of my bar, pulled out, can it focus? This Calumet Kentucky Straight Bourbon, 90 proof, and it is completely gone. So once again, maybe once we're fully employed, I will go restock my bar with more whiskey and more bourbon to try out for the episode. All right, JB, get us out of here.
Guys, for full-length episodes at Box Scores and Bourbon on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. Additional content at BSB Sports 24 on TikTok, X, and Instagram. And until next time, stay thirsty.
Cheers, everyone, but Jerry Jones.